Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadhyasya Yato Anvayaditaratascha Artheshu Abhigyaswarat Tene Brahmahridaya Adikavaye Muhyanti Yatsuraya Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Sargo Mrisha Dhamna Swena Sada Nirastakuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi Nigamakalpataror Ghalitam Phalam Shukamukad Amritadrava Sanyutam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavukaha. We enter the 41st chapter of the 10th Skandha of Bhagavatam, which is the entry into Mathura of Krishna and Balaram. So we saw in the last chapter how Akrura got the most divine vision of the Lord inside the waters of Yamuna, and he offered a very beautiful prayer. Now Shuka Brahman continues and he says, Akrura, having seen this wonderful form as Narayana, now this form was withdrawn from his eyes, just as he says, an actor withdraws his part, Krishna removed this vision from him. Bhuyas samaharat Krishno nato natyamiva atmanah. So nato means an actor. The actor, just as after he plays a part, he takes it off. Here, Shuka Brahman says similarly, Krishna showed him the vision of Narayana in the water, and then he took it off from his eyes. Then, after the vision was withdrawn, Akrura completed his usual prayers of Gayatri and so on in the water. And then he returned to the chariot in a state of wonder. And Krishna very innocently asks him, What did you see, O uncle? What did you see? Looks like you've seen something wonderful either on earth or in the sky or in the water, because I can see that you have witnessed something unusual. So Krishna pretends, as always, with mischief, as if he doesn't know, to Akrura. Now Akrura knows everything because he saw again and again Krishna and Balaram sitting in the chariot, then appearing in the water. Then he looked at the chariot, they were still there, and now he saw them appearing as Narayana and Adisesha. So he tells Krishna, O Krishna, what wonder is there other than seeing you? He says, any wonder that one can behold in earth or in sky or in water, it's all in fact present in you because you are the whole soul of the universe. Therefore, when I am looking at you now directly, what wonder is there? So Akrura now realizes that even more wonderful than the vision he got of Narayana in the water is the vision of Krishna as the young boy sitting in the chariot, because that is the most pleasing vision and he is the supreme self of all. So he says, Adbhutani iha yavanti bhumo viyati vajale Twayi Vishwatmake Tani Kim Me Adrishtam Vipashyatah. You are the Vishwatma. You are the self of the whole universe. And therefore, I am now looking at you. You have taken this form as Krishna. You are here. And I am looking at you. What greater vision is there than this? And saying this, Akrura now gets back on the chariot too. And he starts driving the chariot with Krishna and Balaram, and they slowly reach by the late afternoon towards the early evening time, because they are also stopped on the way. As they go, there are some villages on the way. Every time they cross a village, it is said that the people flocked immediately, because the news spread very fast that two most beautiful, handsome young boys are coming and they are going to Mathura. So the villages on the way, everybody lined up. They all flocked the roads and they were all delighted, and therefore the chariot was moving slowly. Meanwhile, as we already saw, Nanda, the father of Krishna, along with all the cowherd men, he took gifts and all that, and he went in bullock carts, but they went very fast because they took a shorter route, and also because they didn't stop at Yamuna where Akrura stopped for a long time because of the vision he had, and then all the villages on the way stopping. None of that happened for Akrura, none of that happened for Nanda rather, and therefore Nanda and the cowherd men reached very fast, whereas Akrura, along with Krishna and Balaram, reached slowly. So eventually they reach Mathura, and once they reach Mathura, they see Nanda along with the cowherd men in a garden that's outside the city, just outside the city. So Krishna joins them, and then he turns to Akrura and he says, O Akrura, now you enter the city and you tell Kamsa whatever you have to tell. We will take some rest here and then visit the city later. So Akrura is now very crestfallen. Akrura is so happy. The last 2 days he has been having the most exquisite company of Krishna and Balaram. So he is very agonized to even consider leaving. So he pleads, he says, how can I leave you, Krishna? How can you now leave me and go? You ought not to abandon me because you are so fond of all bhaktas, all devotees. He says, Naham bhavadbhyam rahitaha pravekshye mathuram prabho tyaktum na arhasi mam nata bhaktam te bhakta vatsala. He says, you are bhakta vatsala, one who holds devotees as the most dear, and therefore you ought not to now say that you will leave me. Please come to my house. Please grace my house. My house will be sanctified by you and Balaram coming. I will wash your feet with water, and that water will sanctify the whole house because we are householders, and therefore we can get our house sanctified. The fire, the sacrificial fire in the house will be sanctified. All the relatives, the children, they are all sanctified by your visit. So please come. Your lotus feet has sanctified everyone. It sanctified Bali, who by washing your feet was awarded the greatest benediction. So we saw the story of how Bali washed the feet of Vamana in the 8th Skandha. We saw this beautiful story, and thereby he was given the greatest benediction after being tested. So similarly here, Akrura says, you gave this great benediction to Bali for washing your feet, and the water that washes your feet is what flows as Ganga. It comes through the beautiful hairlocks of Shiva and sanctifies the whole world. And it also liberated the sons of Sagara, the ancestors of Ram. Therefore, please come to my house and sanctify, he pleads. He says with a prayer, Deva Deva Jagannatha Punya Shravana Kirtana Yadutama Uttama Shloka Narayana Namostute. He says, O Lord of all lords, the Lord of the universe, the one listening about whom simply purifies one's heart, the supreme Yadu. The Yadu is the clan in which Krishna is born. O Narayana, please protect me and come to my house. So Krishna listens to him, smiles, and he says, not to worry, O uncle, we will certainly come. Now is not the time. We want to come only after killing Kamsa. So he says, I will have slain Kamsa. Kamsa will be slain tomorrow. And after that, I will certainly come to your house with my brother Balaram. So in this way, Akrura was pacified and sent. And then Krishna and Balaram, they joined the other cowherd men. And then, after taking a little bit of rest, in the evening, they entered the city. So their first time, Krishna is now entering the city of Mathura. So they were stationed outside the city in a garden where they met with all the cowherd men. And then after sending off Akrura, so Akrura entered the city with a heavy heart, but waiting for Krishna to come to his house, knowing that Krishna will certainly come having given his word. And therefore he went to Kamsa, told him that I have brought the two boys as you have told. They are in Mathura. He gave the news and he went home. Meanwhile, Krishna and Balaram, they enter the city in the most beautiful manner, and they enter like two lions, and their very entrance is so majestic, and the city is also so grand. So they are coming to the big city. They have actually lived all these years in the small village of Vrindavan, which is a rustic town with very beautiful natural settings and pastures and mountain and cows grazing and all the rest. Now this is a completely different scene because they are actually entering the biggest city of that time, which is Mathura, and they see the city with high gateways, with huge houses made of crystal. Doors are embellished with golden arches. There are huge granaries on the way, and then there are many palaces with moats around them, and there are wonderful private gardens and parks, and they see mansions, they see gold in various buildings. It's a very opulent city in general. They see many peacocks roaming around. They see the steps of the houses being laid with diamonds and crystals and so on, emeralds and all that. The marketplaces are all very opulent. There is scented water sprinkled everywhere. Flowers are there. Grains are being sold in abundant quantities. The houses are all artistically decorated, and in fact, every house has a pitcher of water, a pot of water on either side. This is an auspicious thing to keep, and that's done even now, where they keep a pot of water, and then the pot is having a cloth around its neck, and then there are mango leaves that are thrust into the mouth of the pot, and then on top of the pot there is a lid on top of which there are lights lit, and there are flowers, and there is stem of plantain tree which is put next to the pot. So in this way, many houses, even now on festival days in India, they do that, and that is exactly how every house was decorated at its entrance with this auspicious sign. So Krishna and Balaram see all this as they enter the city, and soon the news spreads like wildfire that Krishna and Balaram are entering. Their glory has already reached the ears of all the residents of Mathura, and therefore everyone is flocking to the rooftops and to the windows, especially the women of the city. They are all told that two most handsome men have come, so they are all climbing up the mansion. Some of them are going up to the rooftops to take a look at the two wonderful young handsome men, Krishna and Balaram. And it is said that they were all running with such craze that they didn't even know what they were doing. Some women did not wear their ornaments properly, some did not put on the anklets correctly, some were doing some makeup and they left it in the middle and went, some were eating a meal, they walked in the middle, some were doing some oil massage on themselves before taking a bath, but they stopped it instantly. Mothers who were giving milk to the children, they stopped that. So, if we can now recollect, this is exactly what happened to the gopis in Vrindavan when Krishna played the flute. Krishna drew everyone to the forest, and in the same way, just as it happened with the gopis, here the women of Mathura too are all drawn like magnets are drawn to iron, not knowing, because as Shuka Brahmam described there too, what is dearer to one's own self is dearer than anything else, including one's relations and others, because everyone is dear only because they are connected to one's own self. So, what is dearest to one is one's own self, and the true self is not the body, it's not the mind, it is pure consciousness. And that pure self as Satchitananda has taken the form of Krishna along with Balaram, and therefore there is an unexplainable complete magnetic attraction to see Krishna for everyone there. And so all the women are running forth in this way, and they are all looking at the most charming young boys, Krishna and Balaram, walking in a very graceful way like majestic elephants. And they are all feasting, their eyes are feasting. It says here, Sri Ramana Atmanotsavam. Ramana means the one who gives a feast, one who gives happiness. Utsavam is celebration. So it is said that the one who gives utmost happiness, like it's a celebration. In this way, Krishna is walking there along with Balaram as Ramana Atmanotsavam, and beholding him, everyone is so honored because they are looking up also as Krishna and Balaram are walking down. They are both dressed so impeccably, and they are looking up, and they are looking at all the people who are on the rooftops and the windows, and gently grazing them with their glances, with their eyes, looking at them. They feel like they are sprinkled with nectar when Krishna looks up and gives them a smile or glances at them, and especially the women of Mathura, they are all drinking him. It says that as if one would drink nectar, they are drinking through their eyes this very embodiment of bliss. So Shuka Brahmam says Ananda Murti. Ananda Murti means embodiment of pure bliss. So Krishna looks like embodiment of pure bliss. So all the women of Mathura, their mind is completely captured by Krishna, and so they are taking him through the gateway of their eyes deep into their heart and embracing him there. in this way. And then all the various people who are on the rooftops, they're all sprinkling flowers. So we can imagine this most beautiful scene, the streets of Mathura, Krishna and Balaram walking, and everyone is eager to look at them. They are sprinkling flowers. The men are all very eager to look at the strong two handsome boys. The women are captivated, and Krishna is looking at all of them very smilingly and in with a very gentle glance and smile. And all the women are especially so captivated, and they are going in this rain of flowers that is being poured down on them. And there are priestly brahmanas who are also waiting for them, and they are taking what is called akshata, which is unbroken grains of rice, and they are sprinkling it on them as a way of blessing them, and they are giving them garlands, and they are keeping vessels full of water to wash their feet and all the rest. And then the most amazing thing is the women of Mathura, they tell among themselves, look at this great beauty of Krishna. What austerities did the gopis of Vrindavan do that they were actually able to behold Krishna along with Balaram every single day like this? So now we can recall when Krishna was about to leave Vrindavan, the gopis of Vrindavan were so crestfallen, so agonized, and they were worried about the women of Mathura in their own innocent way, that the women of Mathura are so high society, well educated city women, and therefore they will be so attractive and all the rest. But in fact, those women, the women of Mathura, they are only envious of the innocent gopis, because they say we are only able to glance him like this one time, but the same beauty, the same grace was feasted upon by the gopis of Vrindavan every single day. So, how great they are in this way. In fact, the city women are glorifying the innocent gopis. So, in this way, Krishna proceeds. And now, interestingly, one washerman comes who also dyes new clothes. And Krishna and Balaram see him, and Krishna says very humbly, "O washerman, we are new to the city and we like the clothes you are having. So, can you give us one of your best clothes? And it will be a great blessing for you as well." So, when Krishna asks humbly in this way, he tests this washerman. This washerman is a servant of the king Kamsa. So, he immediately speaks very arrogantly and angrily. He says, "Look at you, boys. You are coming from the woods. We can see that you are coming from the village, because Krishna and Balaram are still dressed very beautifully, and yet they are dressed in the clothes which they were wearing from Vrindavan, not the opulent clothes of the city." So this washerman angrily speaks, "Do you ever get to wear such excellent clothes as I have? Because I can see that you are roaming around in mountain and in the woods, and how come you are seeking such royal clothes? Do you even think you deserve these clothes? Get away from me right now. Otherwise, if I tell the king will put you in jail." So, in this way, when he speaks arrogantly, Krishna looks at him and he wants to liberate him, because he realizes that this particular washerman, being the servant of the king, is so full of arrogance. So, Krishna simply takes his fingertips, and with his mystic power, he just touches his neck, and instantly his head is severed. So everyone is shocked to see this, the power of Krishna. So this is why it is said Krishna, who is so gentle like a flower for his devotees, can also be extremely hard like a thunderbolt to the evildoers. And we see the sign of this every time a demon comes. We saw that in Vrindavan, and now for the first time here in Mathura, he demonstrates this to the residents of the city, who are all bathed in love. But when this washerman showed arrogance, Krishna taught him a lesson, and also in this way announced to king, because this news will go to the king, and King Kamsa will get a message that who has come here is no ordinary being. So Krishna simply puts his fingertip, just with the fingertip, with his mystic power, Krishna just like that knocks his head off, and this fellow is fallen dead. and all his attendants, they all run away. And then Krishna and Balaram take two of the best clothes, put it on, and then give the other clothes to other cowherd boys who are with them, and then they go on. And then a weaver comes. This weaver is, on the other hand, a very humble and loving weaver. And so he sees Krishna and Balaram and he immediately welcomes both of them, and then he gives whatever he can give. He has some ornamental clothes and so on. He gives that to Krishna and Balaram, and they look so beautiful wearing them. It says, Nana Lakshana Veshabhyam Krishna Ramo Virejatuhu. So it says, with various divergent patterns of decorations, they both were shining, Krishna and Balaram, and they were very happy. And Krishna immediately conferred upon him the greatest boon, that you will have great strength and prosperity while living, and upon death you will attain liberation. He says, Tasya prasanno Bhagavan pradat sarupyam atmanah shriyam cha paramam loke balair aishwarya smritindriyam. So you will get shriya, that is wealth, bala, that is power, Aishwarya, that's opulence, Smriti, good memory. So you will get all of this. And Sarupya means you will get the same form as Bhagavan. You will be eternally liberated. So we see the difference between the washerman and the weaver. The washerman was arrogant, and therefore he saw the side of Krishna who instantly finishes evildoers, and the weaver is very humble and devoted, and therefore he saw the side of Krishna which is bestowing grace. And then finally they come upon a flower seller, florist, whose name is Sudama. So he is the most wonderful devotee living there in Mathura, and we can see his level of devotion is even greater, because as soon as Krishna comes, this florist Sudama rises up and he bows down to them. He gets a seat for them. He brings water. He washes both their feet, and then he gives them articles of worship. He gives them various garlands and sandal paste and so on. And then he glorifies them. He says, you both have made this advent into my house, my humble house, and thereby you have hallowed this house, hallowed all the forefathers. Indeed, everyone has blessed me today. The whole purpose of my life has been achieved today, because you have appeared on this earth only for the protection of the saintly and for the taking care of this world and to remove the evil ones and to bestow your love. And therefore, to see you is already a greatest benediction. He says, first he says, Praha nasartakam janma pavitam chakulam prabho Pitrudeva Rishayo Mahyam Tushtahi Agamanenavam. He says, our forefathers, the various deities and rishis have blessed us, and that's why you have come. And then he says, you are the supreme being who has come only for the protection and the well-being of the universe, and you are the self of the whole universe, and therefore you coming here is the greatest benediction for me. He says, Bhavantau kila vishvasya jagatah karanam param avatirna avihamshena kshemaya cha bhavaya cha. So you have come for kshema, that is for welfare of all. And then he goes on to say that even though your eyes are same towards everyone, you bestow your love on those who worship you. He says nicely, Samayo sarva bhuteshu bhajantam bhajatorapi. So this is mentioned in the Gita too. Krishna says, Samoham sarva bhuteshu. I have the same vision towards all, and yet those who are devoted to me, they always get the special grace. And therefore in this way, Sudama, this florist, also says, therefore I am so blessed that you have stepped inside this humble abode of mine, and therefore please tell me what I can do. This is the greatest boon I can have to serve you. And then Krishna and Balaram just look at him. He looks at them and he recognizes that the two young boys, all they want is beautiful garlands, because he is a florist, because they have put on nice clothes, the royal clothes. They have put on cloth ornaments, and now they need garlands. So Sudama is so happy that he is able to offer service. That is his specialty anyway. So he immediately brings the most exquisite garlands made of the best flowers with superb fragrance, and he adorns them both, and then he makes them look so charming and so beautiful. And Krishna and Balaram are so pleased, and they tell him, "You ask for any boon, I shall give you." And this Sudama, this florist, is so enlightened. Is even the boon he asks is so beautiful. He says, "All I want is three things." He's very beautiful and specific in asking. When God comes and asks, "What do you want?" many people don't even know what to say because we haven't thought about it. But this florist, who's a simple flower garland maker, asks a very specific three boons. He says, "I want unflinching devotion to you, Krishna, forever. I want friendship with all your devotees alone. And I want compassion for all other beings." So, three perfect boons he asks for. He says, "Soapi vavre achalam bhaktim tasmineva akhilatmani tad bhakteshu cha sauhardam bhuteshu cha dayam param." So, this is the way to live life that he is showing with these three boons: complete, abiding devotion to the Supreme Being who is the self of all, Akhilatmani, and then close friendship with all those who are in this way devoted to him. So, to be in satsang and to be in friendship only with those who are devoted, and for all other beings who are not devoted, not have any other feeling except compassion for them, not to have any negative feeling whatsoever, but to have only compassion for everyone else. So these are the three things he asks for, and Krishna is of course most pleased, and therefore he confers these three boons. But on top of that, Krishna also tells him, "You will get physical strength, longevity, glory, and splendor." And being blessed with all of this, he is ecstatic. And then Krishna and Balaram leave this place. And with this chapter ends of Krishna entering Mathura for the first time, bestowing his grace upon the residents of Mathura, and demonstrating his great power by killing the evil washerman, at the same time bestowing his sweet grace on the weaver and on this excellent devotee florist, Sudama. With this chapter ends. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.